Hey, welcome back to Exit Strategy. We are headed from Clearwater down to Key Largo, where we're going to spend 4 or 5 days over 4th of July, fireworks on Blackwater Sound, and make our way back to Marco, and then spend another 4 or 5 days cruising the west coast of Florida back to Clearwater. So we are just underway. Just left Clearwater just a second ago. I'm not by myself this time. It's my lovely wife, CB. She's sitting right up here. It's a beautiful day. The sun's going to go down here in a little while. Looks like we got about an hour and a half till sunset. We're just now clearing Indian Rocks, which is the closest we'll be to shore for a long time. And we're making our way to Egmont Key, so we're going to make the passage around Egmont. We should hit that about 11 o'clock tonight, across the shipping lanes, which can be pretty busy at times. And then we can come off the wind a little bit. I sailed in the west coast of Florida with our target being the Boca Grande Inlet, at which time we'll decide whether we're going to duck in Boca Grande and take the intercoastal around to Fort Myers, or we can stay on the outside and sail in the big water. It depends on what the weather's supposed to do. The wind's supposed to turn and come around more out of the southwest, which could be too close for us. We'll be pointing too much into it, in which case we'll have to motor, so we'll make that call when we get down there. But right now we've got full sails out. Wind looks like it's blowing maybe 8 knots, maybe 10. There's some white caps out there, so maybe 10 to 12. But we are really close hauled. I've got the motor running because we wanted to make sure that we could make this corner here. But we get the boat set up pretty well. She's balanced, running about 5.5 knots with just the motor and idle, just in case I need it. But that's current state. We're heeling over pretty good. And autopilot's doing their job. The wife is doing her job. And steady goes. We'll have the sunset here in about an hour and a half. Well, it's Friday morning. We went last night across the Egmont Channel around midnight. We were close hauling it right into a wind. It looked like it wasn't anything major, 10 to 12. But we were so close on the edge because we have to go out around the shallows at Egmont Key. So close on the edge of the wind that we would stall and sail again and stall. We finally ended up having to start the motor to get around the shallows west of Egmont. And then once we cleared Egmont, we got to come off the wind a little bit and head back a little south-southeast. We had a nice angle on the wind and we sailed for a long time. I had the main all the way up with the head sail out about 3/4. It was pretty intense, like we were heeling over 30 degrees most of that time. And then the wind started doing the little blowing gusts for 5-10 minutes, and then it would fade away for 5 or 10 minutes, and then it would come back pretty strong. So when it was pretty strong, we were heeling, we were rocking and rolling to the point where we were overpowered. Then when the wind would die off, we were fine. So it was hard to keep the sails adjusted. And then there were some scattered rain squalls coming through. We could see them once they passed us against the city lights. But there was one where we could see it coming ahead of us, so I put 2 reefs in the main because I didn't know if there was any wind in it. And turns out that we didn't really need to do that, but what it did was it took the edge off of our sailing, so I put the head sail all the way out with 2 reefs in the main, and we sailed like that for a long time last night. Still making 5.5, 6 knots. then the wind kind of faded and started to come right on our nose, and so I started the motor, and we've been motor sailing well for the last 3 or 4 hours. But it's just a gorgeous morning. We're about 20 miles north of Boca Grande. Looking at the forecast, I think we're going to duck into Boca Grande and take the intercoastal up the inside to Fort Myers, because with that wind, it's going to shift and come out of the south-southeast, which would be the same thing we were facing last night, except for on the other side, out of the east instead of the west. But what that does is puts us up against the coast where we don't have the swell generating. We should be able to sail up the coast, and then once we hit Marco Island, we'll come back out into more open water again. But at that time, the wind is supposed to shift and come directly out of the east, or more east-southeast, and we should have about 8 to 10 knots on the beam, or just forward of the beam, so it should be good sailing. So we're about 4 hours out of Boca Grande. I'm going to duck into Boca Grande, use that little cut along the edge instead of going all the way out to the westward marker. And hopefully we can sail up the inside. That would be terrific. That's our morning. So we cut the corner, we went into Boca Grande, and then came out here at Fort Myers. The wind continues to be right on our nose, so we're motoring still. We sailed a little bit as we turned the corner down there, but for the most part we motored up the intercoastal for like the last couple hours. But now we are coming under the bridge at Fort Myers, and all these magnificent condos and hotels over here. Looks like they're still repairing damage from the hurricane a year and a half ago to the Sanibel Causeway. So the plan is that we're going to motor up the coast here to try and stay out of the swell a little bit. We get to Marco Island, and then we're going to go move east a little bit to over by 10,000 Islands. The water gets pretty shallow over there, but I want to stay out of the swells most we can, because the wind's going to be on our forward quarter, if not right on our nose like it has been. So we're going to try and sail into it, but we don't want to get beat up by the waves either. So into the night, we should reach Marco around sunset, and then we'll sail all night, and we'll arrive in Marathon tomorrow morning. But we're going to hug the coast until we get to Cape Sable, and then we should have a sail with the wind on our beam as we cut across the Marathon. So we'll see how it goes. last night after dark. We passed it, and part of the course of this trip, the wind was right on our nose again as we were trying to make our way down the marathon. So kept motoring, and only I turned us on a more easterly course to get closer to 10,000 Islands. The water is really shallow over this way, but we're in about 15 feet of water now. We motored to a point where the swells have dropped considerably from last night, and the wind is nice and manageable. So I turned the corner and headed directly to Marathon now on a better course, 172 degrees. And I've got one reef in the main with the head sail out about the size of a full jib. 130% Genoa's rolled in to about the size of a jib. But it's a beautiful morning, sunrise. We should be able to sail like this all the way into Marathon. But we're making 6.2 knots right now with one reef, full-size jib, and a beautiful morning. Biscayne Bay, and there's a pretty long pass through here. But over here, up ahead of us, there's a pretty significant storm over Miami right now. Just watching kind of the lightning show a little bit. The original plan was to come and anchor behind Billy's Point right up here at the south end of Biscayne Bay, but that would leave a long dinghy ride because we want to go to Boca Chica Key, which is an old plantation, and there's a lighthouse there. So we're going to motor up to a little bit further. It would have been about a 5-mile dinghy ride to get up there, but we're just going to take the big boat up and anchor up that way. But there's a pretty good sized storm over Miami right now, but it looks like it's going to pass north of us. So we've been dodging these all night. Well, we just set the anchor. It is 9:15 on Sunday. So we left at 5:30 on Thursday, and we just got here. I haven't looked to see exactly how many miles we traveled. It's probably 315 miles or so. I know that we had 252 miles in 48 hours, so we're averaging about 125 a day, 126 to be exact. But we're in the anchorage here inside the southern end of Bay Biscayne. We had to anchor in the rain, and lightning storm was pretty spectacular. But this is our celebratory beer. That's teamwork.
Well done.
We made it. This is my wife CB's longest passage, 310 miles or so, 315, a little over 2.5 days.
I made it. I took a shower in a rainstorm.
Yep.
First for me. Lots of firsts.
It was raining hard. She strips down, shaves her legs in the cockpit.
That part they didn't need to know about. Okay.
Yes. So this is the anchorage. Cheers to my lovely wife. Thank you for the help. We split the watches. We were pretty tired at one point, but that's part of it. So here's to everyone, and we're in this beautiful anchorage. We're in about 6 feet of water, 8 feet of water. You can see the bottom, it's really clear. It's still raining a little bit. A couple other vessels here. We anchored offshore to get away from the mosquitoes. All the reviews of this anchorage said that it's really mosquito-y in there. We hear some music from that little party spot down there, but nothing too bad. But this is a beautiful anchorage. We're going to stay here for a day or two. We're going to go to, I always forget what it's called. What's it called?
Boca Chica.
Boca Chica Key, which is right around that corner. We're going to dinghy around there tomorrow. But today we're just going to rest and relax. This beautiful water. We made it. So this is day one at our destination.
Take 3.
Okay. So what are we doing?
This is our first night at anchor, and we are in Key Biscayne.
Biscayne Bay.
Biscayne Bay.
Key Biscayne is around the corner to the north of us.
And we can see Miami from here, and it kind of looks like Gotham City, if I may say so myself.
Yeah, this looks like this evil metropolis on the horizon. But it's beautiful here. We were in the anchorage south end of Biscayne Bay, which between Miami and Key Largo, but it's beautiful. We've got the anchorage pretty much to ourselves. I don't know if you can see Miami or not, but it's on the horizon back there. The sun is getting ready to set. We've got the anchorage to ourselves. There's a couple boats over there that's playing some music, and we can hear it pretty loudly, but okay. People do what they do. And when we pulled in here, there were 6 or 8 boats, but those are all gone except for one way down there. So we have the anchorage pretty much to ourselves. We are in about 8 feet of water. I've got 5-to-1 scope out. The anchorage reviews on Navionics said that this was kind of hard holding, and like the anchor wouldn't dig in, but ours dug in immediately, and it's buried. I went diving down on it, and that anchor's not going anywhere. And then what Dad say, like, they ain't going nowhere. And it's not. So yeah, tomorrow we're gonna put the dinghy up, and got to inflate it, put the motor on it, and then we're going to go down to around that way to go to what's that place called? Biscayne Key. And it used to be a Honeywell plantation. Biscayne Key, and it used to be the Honeywell plantation, and now it's there's a lighthouse on it, and it's owned by the state, I believe. I think there's like a $25 entry fee. But it's about 3 miles away, and we're going to take the dinghy down there tomorrow. And yeah, this is a beautiful place. It's even prettier because there's really nobody here.
Getting in here was fun with the rainstorm.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
3 or 4 storms all going at one time around us converged and created a nasty thunderstorm with lots of lightning, and we waited it out for quite a while, and then we decided, all right, let's just anchor the best we can, and then it did lighten up a little bit, and we were able to set our anchor on the first try. So that's always a win.
yeah. One thing is really stressful is anchoring, but we actually do a good job. Like, we don't fight or anything.
Never.
We don't. We don't fight. We actually did a good job.
We did.
Yeah, she drives the boat, and I man the anchor because we don't have a windlass or anything. I have to pull it all up manually, but the anchoring part we've got down. We've done it so many times that it's second nature. So that's the story in Biscayne Bay on our first night at anchor on our 2-week trip. So
63 hours later.
yeah. Yeah, it took us 63 hours to go 315 miles non-stop. So we had to motor a good part of it, but there was some really good sailing in between there as well. So, but we used a lot of fuel, but that's okay. It's part of it. Mother Nature doesn't care when your PTO is scheduled, so we just motor when we motored, and we beat through the waves when we had to, and we made it exhausted, but we made it. Today we took about a 4-hour nap from about 1 to 5, and now it's the evening time. She's kicking my ass playing backgammon. I haven't figured this thing out yet. She whips me every time. I think she's up 7-1.
It's my game.
Yeah. True story. So that's it. Biscayne Bay, South End. Pretty amazing.